Field of 68 after dark.
What's up? Welcome to Field 68 After Dark, presented by Warner Brothers. Of course, all odds are from our partners at BetMGM, alongside Rob Dauster, Jeff Goodman. I'm Dallin Cuff. Boys, it's been about, 28 hours since the bracket's been out. Mm-hmm. How many hours do you think you've spent talking, Goodman, of the last 28?
Oh, way too much. I mean, between, brackets, coaching stuff, transfer portal, pretty much the whole day. I feel like my poor wife, I haven't seen her. I'm home for like a day and a half, and I've barely seen her. So probably good for her, though.
Yeah, I was going to say she's happy about that.
Like, this is great. I feel your presence. I want to talk to you. Yeah, this is the time of the year. This is our. I mean, we get paid to talk. Not a bad gig, but it's a lot of talking. Sorry, just for the audience, if there is an Arsenal crest here, just for my guy that's a Tottenham fan. Any soccer fans that are out there, understand why I have this on.
Me, man.
Understand why his team sucks, and that's all we need to worry about. We don't need to get into it. Goody, we'll explain it to you another day. We'll get into it.
Listen, I'm just happy. I'm just happy that his team sucks. I don't care about anything else. I'm good.
It's remarkable sucking.
Hey, between what's happening, he's
going to suck in a different division next year. It's awesome.
It's going to be awful. It's going to be like they're not going to win in the championship. It's going to be awful. It's going to be
nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yeah. I do, and that's the worst part about it. Like this, you don't understand the needle that is going on right now. It's
so great.
I kind of respect it.
Let me get into the bracket here, boys. We've chopped this up every different way in different conversations. We talked our betting. Great show last night. We have Brad Evans on. You guys had hours and hours of content yesterday. I want to start this from a big picture standpoint, because we will be, 2 games in, almost a game and a half in, I guess, 24 hours from now. When you look at the first round, and Dauster, go first, is there a certain game you're just like you're ready, you want to see, you're excited to see? Because I think we've talked about the winners and losers and who's going to Final Four, but we're getting to watch hoops. Like, what game are you looking forward to the most that people need to be aware of?
There's like 10, but I think the one that I'm going to start with. Yeah, no, I'm just going to start with the one that I kind of like, the first one that I circled on this, and it's Wisconsin High Point. And it's because of the backcourt battle. It's because of the way that Nick Boyd plays and the swagger that he has about him, and the fact that I think that High Point is probably the most talented of the 11 and 12 seeds, the mid-majors that are in this field. I think that they are good enough to be able to win that game. And I also think Wisconsin is good enough to be able to throw haymakers with them. So I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be up tempo. I don't think either team really concerns themselves with getting stops all that much. And that's the best kind of basketball game that you want to see. Talented guards, talented shot makers, defense optional. Give me more of that.
Gritty, what you like?
Probably South Florida, Louisville. I think that's one that could go either way. You've heard a lot about South Florida's coach over the last week or so, Brian Hodgson, who's right now being courted by Syracuse and Providence. And he's got also a lucrative offer to stay at South Florida at this point. But they've got a really good team. He kept some guys, brought some guys over with him from Arkansas State. He's got balanced scoring, a lot of athleticism, some size, and Louisville does not have a lot of size and might not have Mikel Brown. I still haven't gotten word. I think we'll probably get it maybe at some point tomorrow, whether Mikel Brown is going to play in the NCAA tournament or certainly play in the first week of the NCAA tournament, but they're vulnerable. We know that up front, they're vulnerable. And I think that's an area that the Bulls can certainly take advantage. I think this is more of a toss-up game than we think.
I mean, I think that here's my concern with that game, though, too, is I think when we all like a certain play, I get a little worried. I mean, we're all on USF. Yeah. I think a lot. I mean, that's one of the things, like, everybody's talking about them. But for reasons you just mentioned, also, if Louisville's not making shots, I feel like they can go in the tank defensively. Like, they can just wither. So, I mean, I love you. I love the play. I think that line is still at 5.5 or so. Let me double check where that is. But it does concern me more on the when we're on the same page. It makes me a little worried with stuff like that. But I love that game. This one's a little off the beaten path. The numbers through the roof. It's a 171.5. That Georgia St. Louis game is just Now, this is what's weird. Is St. Louis? Anytime you cover one of these leagues that's not one of the Power Four, that you try not to be too close to the A10 because then I get a little biased. They have not played well though the last month, so I like Georgia in the game. But if they play the way they played from January 1st to February 15th, this game is going to be 180 plus points, and it's going to be entertaining because they're not scared to go up and down with you, and they have good positional size. They've got really good guard play, and obviously Robbie Avila presents a lot of different challenges. How they handle it physically from a Georgia team, I think, is interesting. But that game, I think, is compelling just because I think there's going to be a boatload of points.
What Randolph said yesterday about that, guys, was that the first team to get a stop, not the first team to get to play defense, just the first team to get a single stop is going to end up winning that game. I got another one for you that I think is really fascinating, and that's Kentucky and Santa Clara. For a lot of different reasons. Santa Clara is
Santa Clara.
There you go. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, you got the Bronx gear on. Santa Clara is by definition a mid-major, right? But they got some high major talent on that roster. Alan Graves is a guy that is going to be one of the most sought after players and one of the guys that everyone tries to get to put his name in the portal, right? I'm guaranteed there's already been some tampering going on there. They got talented guards. Sash Gavalyov hit a huge 3 in the WCC tournament. Christian Hammond's one of the most improved players. Most importantly, though, they got a rim protector in Bucky Aboye, and they force turnovers. And the thing about this Kentucky team is that if you can make it difficult for them to finish at the basket and force them to turn the ball over, you can beat them. And Santa Clara does those two things. So can a mid-major take down Big Blue, the $22 million roster? That's one of the ones that I'm kind of circling for the intriguing narrative reasons, but also because I think it's going to be a fascinating basketball game.
Goody, who you got in that one?
I'll take Santa Clara. I just still don't trust Kentucky. I know they played harder, but it wouldn't shock me at all if they bow out in the first round. I mean, this is still a team that doesn't shoot it overly well, other than Malachi Moreno. You know, they just still don't fit together well, right? If you played Diabate, sometimes he tries to prove he can shoot the 3, and if you get them down early, and that's, I think, the key with this Kentucky team in the NCAA tournament. How do they respond with some serious pressure on them? I don't know. I mean, they've shown they're certainly mentally tougher and physically tougher than they were in the first half of the season, but I still don't know if I know I don't completely trust them. How's that?
I'm right there with you. For all the reasons you mentioned Santa Clara there, Rob, I'm on board with that pick. The number opened at 2.5 at BetMGM, and BetMGM, but then at every book it seemed to go to 4.5. So I think the public hammered Kentucky at that number, moved it up. It's now to 3.5. I took it at 4.5 yesterday. I feel like that was the best you're going to get in the marketplace for the Bronx, and I like them a lot. I like them straight up my bracket. I like them with the number 2. The news of the day is Aden Holloway. Let's get into Alabama here, because beyond the game, let's talk about the situation first. So those that don't know, he was arrested I guess it was late this evening, late yesterday morning, I guess, for marijuana possession, a pound, reportedly in his residence. He has been booked and already posted bail. He's out. But Goodman, you got any more in terms of what's happening here and what's going on?
So what originally happened, I don't have everything yet, but what originally happened, he was pulled over I want to say 10 days ago for a traffic citation. I think he ran a stoplight or something like that. And he wasn't arrested. I think he had a small amount of marijuana, according to my sources, and wasn't arrested. And then today, they went into his apartment or whatever, and he had a pound of marijuana in there. And I don't know how it happened. I don't know if one situation was linked to the other, and that's why they went in today. I don't know if they got more information. I don't know the specifics of it, but what I do know is right now, again, he's been removed from campus, and likely, they're on spring break this week. So I don't know how he would possibly get reinstated at this point. I think he's certainly out for this week. All indications are he's not going to travel with the team. And who knows in the future whether he'll even be a part of this team if they get past the first weekend or week. But again, I don't know exactly if those situations were linked or not. I'm told, again, this isn't a guy. I know a lot of people, read this and, felony drug charge. Obviously, marijuana not legal in Alabama. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this spot. So we'll see kind of where this goes. But if there's a team that can handle the loss of a guard in the NCAA tournament, even though Aden Holloway is one of the better guards in the SEC, it's the Alabama Crimson Tide. They've got 4 other high-level guards.
Yeah, I understand that it's illegal. I have a very hard time getting worked up about somebody having some weed. I got a neighbor down the street that buys in bulk. You know how people go to Costco and say, "Look, I don't want to have to make another trip here.
Wait,
I'm going to just
you're
go
out
buy
your boy. I know it's legal in Connecticut. I don't know how many pounds you can have in your house though. I don't know if it's
I know.
do. I think there's a personal use thing we got going on here.
I've seen what he's bought, and it's like there's a lot there. Like it's a lot. So
Hey, Dallin, a friend. Rob's got a friend.
Yeah. He's got a friend. I got a
guy. I'm not a big weed guy. That's not really me. I do have a little bit of vino in my goblet. That's more of my my lane there. I think the big thing that hurts me.
What the hell is that?
My wife got it for me when I got super into Game of Thrones 6 years ago, and she was like, "Yeah,
oh wow,
yeah." She was like, "Here's your goblet," trolling me about it. No, I think the big thing that they lose there is he's by far their best catch and shoot 3-point shooter guy. So you have other players that can kind of come in and play the backcourt and fill the role and do a job, but he is a guy that shoots 44% from 3 on volume. I think he takes 6 or 7 per game. And he's also capable of creating his own shot. So you lose that ability to have someone that can be the floor spacer off the ball, and also someone that, if you need him to, can create something on his own. And Latrell Wrightsell can do a job, can step in, can be a catch and shoot guy. Same thing with Houston Millette. But you don't really have another weapon that can do both of those things. It's the end of a clock. You need someone to go create something for you. You can get to the basket and make a play, or you can have someone that can space the floor to make sure that you're not collapsing on the island. So.
Yeah, that's fine. He's got to be even better. The one thing is, at least they're bigger. They're a little bit bigger in the backcourt now without Holloway, instead of having those 2 small guards on the court at all times. I think at least you get bigger, which honestly they need, because the one thing they don't do well, they don't rebound great, and a lot is on Aden Sherrill, and that's the worry for this Alabama team. Obviously, is up front. And in the second round, if they can get through the first round, they at least get a Texas Tech team that is without JT Toppin. So the
Will they
matchups.
Get a Texas Tech team?
Say, hold the phone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If everything plays out, how's that? If everything plays out according to plan, they would get Texas Tech. But I'm with you. Listen, I just saw Texas Tech lose by get run over by Iowa State out in Kansas City. But yeah, I think, again, it hurts them. But again, they can withstand that loss. They still have the same weaknesses that are going to make me worry about. They haven't gotten any better up front. That's my biggest concern with Alabama. Not whether they have Aden Holloway or not. I think, again,
I think without him, they can still get out of the first weekend, right? You can beat Hofstra, and you could beat the winner of Texas Tech and Akron without Aden Holloway. You would probably need him if you have any chance against Michigan. And I don't think even with Aden Holloway, you really have a chance. But the thing is, if Aden Holloway's there, you have a guy that can go out and get you 30 and hit 9 threes. And if you're going to beat Michigan, if you're Alabama, you probably got to hit like 20 threes. So that's the value that he brings in that matchup.
Well, the value Vegas assigned essentially Holloway is 2 points because it went from 13.5 point line last night to 11.5 point line. I talked about this last night. I like Hofstra with the number. I got it at 13.5 last night. I'm thankful for that. I didn't anticipate a felony drug charge coming on one of their starters, but that aside, the Hofstra has a recipe that can cause some problems for them. They play a bottom 50 pace in the country. You got a guard and Cruz Davis. It's an absolute stud, player of the year in the CAA. Preston Edmeade will be playing on a high major team next year, which is unfortunate, but the young freshman's really good. So they have 2 really good guards, have decent size. The offensive rebound the ball well. They're top 50 in offensive rebounding percentage, which is not that common for teams in the mid-major world. So I like their team a lot, and the pace at which they can try to control the game, if they can slow it down. I think they can keep it within the number of 13.5. I don't think they get over that top. That said, if Alabama's missing threes, they are susceptible to losing to anybody. So I do think it is compelling, to say the least.
The sad part is they were finally healthy, Dallin. They were finally healthy. I mean, all year it's been one thing or the other, and finally got healthy, and now they're without Aden Holloway, their second leading scorer.
I like Akron, by the way. I got Akron in the bracket. I got them beating Texas Tech. I think the way they can space you out, they shoot the three, they will play at pace. They can guard well on the perimeter. Their 3-point defense is good. The concern with Texas Tech is they do give up a lot of attempts, though. So sometimes I'm concerned when you're not limiting attempts, but your number is good. That sometimes is an occasion of who'd you play, how'd they play, what's going on with the other teams. But overall, I like Akron, and that's the third straight year John Gross has had this team in the tournament. I like them beating Texas Tech, and we don't know what's going on with Christian Anderson yet. They say he's playing, but is he fully good? Is he the same thing? He'll play, but those soft muscle injuries are weird, man. Those groin things, those things are, you never know. That thing can happen in a second.
That's true. He just didn't seem like he was in serious pain. I was walking with him out of the building the other day, and it didn't seem like it was so severe but again, like you said, you don't know how he's going to wake up the next day. And it's also something that you could tweak easily once you go full speed. My guess is in practice, they're making sure he's not going full speed. And then all of a sudden, you get back into a game and you go full speed, and all of a sudden you pull it again.
I played with a pulled groin my freshman year. Something going on. I was basically wearing a diaper, bro. It was seriously like a wrap to make my leg spring. And then at Yale, something went on. I was under the bleachers getting re-diapered. Pants around my ankles, re-diapered going on. It was quite an interesting scene. So my point is, things can go wrong, and your body, it just doesn't feel right. That was my point. Diaper, leg spring was great. Anything else in the first round you want to hit on before we go to break and we come back? We're going to talk about some of the players we got to watch. We'll talk some coaches stuff after this too.
I will say that if the 4 and the 5 seeds hold, we are in for some incredible matchups in those games in the second round of the tournament on Saturday and Sunday. We could end up with St. John's and Kansas in the East. We can get Wisconsin and Arkansas, Nick Boyd and John Blackwell against Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas. Sign me up for that, right? Yeah. You could end up with Texas Tech and Alabama, LeBaron Filan against Christian Anderson. And then you get Vandy, Nebraska, which we spent – how much time do we spend – this year, guys, talking about who would you rather have, Vandy or Nebraska? Who's got a better chance to make a run? Who's going to be a Final Four team, Vandy or Nebraska? Yeah. And now we get to actually see it play out. So if the upsets there hold, then we got a chance to get some really, really good games in those 4 or 5 matchups.
Yeah, good call. One other thing before we move on, actually. VCU Carolina. That is the smallest 6-11 spread line. It's 2.5. For North Carolina. I'd lay in 2.5. Obviously, we know Caleb Wilson playing. Henry Vasar, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to deal with him, but VCU has good positional size. They've got guards. They got depth. They shoot it well. They play really fast. So, of course, Carolina will be comfortable in that pace, I believe. But are you at all concerned about the Tar Heels here, Goody?
Yeah. I mean, how can you not be? The perimeter's been a question all year. They've been able to rely on their frontline duo of Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar, and now you're without a top 5 pick. And I do think VCU has a guy capable of neutralizing Vasar, and his name is Lazar Djokovic. And he is super talented. He's a high major talent, and the only question for him is again, his decision making, his motor, those are the things. But all the talent's there, and if he goes out and puts up, even 15-8, and just makes it tough on VCR, because he can absolutely do that. Yeah, I think VCU, their guards might be better than Carolina's collection of guards.
They are. Their depth and collection, yeah, of guards and wing players, I think are better. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
I agree with you guys. I love the talent. I love that VCU team. It's again, we kind of run into the same thing with the A10 teams and the WCC teams and the Mountain West teams, since we do podcasts covering those leagues. But I think that when it comes to, we talked about this a little bit last night, Dallin, when it comes to some of those lower level teams going up against the Power 5 programs, the biggest thing that you have to look for is the size and athleticism, right? We talked about Northern Iowa and St. John's, and how on paper, the stylistic matchup for Northern Iowa against St. John's is kind of what you want to do to be able to win, how you want to be able to pull off an upset against that team. They just might have the talent and the size and the athleticism to be able to do it. I think VCU has that talent, has that size, has that athleticism. They got a whole bunch of guys that were high major players that transferred down, and their freshmen are like top 100 guys that are going to VCU because all those high majors were recruiting players out of the portal instead of recruiting freshmen. So that VCU roster is built and looks like a team that should be playing in the ACC as opposed to the A10, and that's why I think they got a chance to be able to win this game. They're not going to be beaten simply because they are a couple inches shorter and their vertical is 30 inches instead of 35 inches.
Hey, Dallin, does Hubert Davis get a mulligan if Carolina loses in the first round here because he's without Caleb Wilson?
Without a doubt. You can't appropriately evaluate him without a top 5 pick. He brought the kid in. The kid is outstanding. They did beat. You could always say, "Hey, we beat Duke before he got hurt." Like, look at where we could have been trending when we put it all together. So I don't think he's in any threatening spot right now.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's in a threatening spot. It's just whether or not you look at this as a disappointing season, because obviously Caleb Wilson, he's an elite player.
Well, no, I think you're always going to be disappointed. I think any fan base, everybody's disappointed, because it's like, hey, if Trimble doesn't break his arm early, if he doesn't break his hand and then break his other hand, that's some stuff that you didn't expect to happen. Everybody's disappointed, but I think the finger pointing doesn't come back to the head coach there. Right. I think it's just this sucks.
I don't even think it's a mulligan. I think you look at this year and say, okay, he might have figured out something here and figure out a way to make this work. Like, we're going to go get some star freshmen. We're going to have some size there.
They weren't going
get
deep.
Some better in the backcourt. I don't know. I think that they could have, man. I think that they were a second weekend team.
Maybe.
I think they were.
I thought that was that was their ceiling, second weekend. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, if they were able to get off the 4 line and get to a 3 seed, I think they would have had a chance to maybe go a little bit farther. I don't know if they would have been capable of doing that, but I also don't think that they would have taken some of the losses that they took late in the season if they had Caleb Wilson available. So it wasn't a perfectly put together roster, but I think that they were a top 15 team in America. And you're going to say, but you're North Carolina. Are you satisfied with top 15? Well, coming from where they were 2 years ago, yeah, you probably are, because you could see some of the development and some of that growth. And I think what you got in Derek Dixon is a guy that you could build around. So bring back Derek, bring back Vasar, go out and get a bunch of big wings in the portal. I think they got some freshmen coming in and have another go at this thing. I think that this year was a success for Hubert Davis, in my opinion.
Process for Hubert Davis, I guess. Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it was a success.
I think it's success for that. He's not more indicted, I guess. But go ahead. He's not like crushed.
Right.
Go ahead, Goody. What do you think?
It can't be a success when Duke is like the number 1 team throughout the year. So you're still measuring yourself against that team down the road. I know you won that game there, and the celebration ensued. But to me, it can't be a success for a Carolina team unless you're going to a Final Four. That's success to me, for Carolina, for Duke, for Kentucky, for Kansas. For those programs, a success to me starts with a Final Four appearance.
Well, yeah, of course. But there's only so much you can do if your best guard has a broken wrist for the first third of the season, and then your best player and a top 5 player in the sport and a first team All-American has a broken hand and a broken thumb for the last third of the season, right? Like we only saw them at full strength for the middle portion of the season.
I'm not judging it without Caleb. I'm saying even with Caleb, Dallin and I are both saying we don't think they were in the same realm as 10 other teams. Now, could they have gotten lucky and gotten through and gotten to Elite Eight? And I think at Elite Eight, yes, I think that could have been deemed a success this year for Carolina. A Sweet 16, when you got that money, you got your GM making almost $1 million. Yeah, I don't know if that's a success, a Sweet 16, even with a healthy Caleb Wilson.
Based off of where they came from, I disagree.
Well, what you said, though, I think a success for Hubert Davis is different than a success for North Carolina. For him to not be further indicted that he's like on a hot seat and this is your fault and all this other stuff, that's not in the ether because that's just you can't evaluate his situation. So success, he managed this team as best he could given the stuff that happened, and we'll see where they go. And maybe somehow they win that game. I don't know if there's any way in hell they're beating Illinois if they do, but that's fine. I mean, obviously they can beat BCU. I don't think there's any way in hell they're beating Illinois, but either way. The success for the coach is one thing. The success for the program, I think, is a different thing. And this is
the number one key. North Carolina, Kentucky got to do the same thing. They got to get better when it comes to evaluating the people they spend money on. There's a lot of guys with 2 commas in their payroll that are not contributing 2 commas worth of production.
That is the biggest thing in college basketball right now. It's not just talent evaluation, but it's allocation of resources. And you have to allocate your resources requisite to the talent that they have. And if you miss on that, that is freaking hard. All right, we got to go to break. We come back, we'll take a look. Who can make a Kemba-like run in this tournament? Also, we look at some double-digit seeds that can get into that second weekend. Coming up next on Field 68 After Dark.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app. You sign up using bonus code FIELD. You deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
Hey everyone, Jeff Goodman here, and I'm excited to tell you about what's going on with our partners at Voodoo Rangers. You know what makes March even better? Chaos. That 111 seed that nobody believed in suddenly ruining everyone's weekend. And this year, Voodoo Ranger wants you to bet on 11. Grab a can of GeForce IPA with 11% ABV, then register that beer at bet11.com. If an 11 seed advances, you have a chance to win a juicy prize, $11,000. We're also taking a trip to Vegas, exclusive GeForce merch. And if an 11 seed pulls off an upset, 1,100 fans could win cash for their next round. It's the juiciest bet of the tournament. No brackets, no stress, just cold beer and beautiful chaos. Visit beton11.com to enter. Win or lose, still got beer. Learn more at bet11.com. You must be 21 or older. No alcohol purchase necessary. Legal in all 50 states. Full rules at beton11.com.
Welcome back into Field 68 After Dark, presented by Warner Brothers. And, of course, all the odds are by our partners, BetMGM. Also want to remind you that for the tournament, TNT Sports has you covered from opening tip to the final buzzer and everything in between. Keep up with all the heart-pumping, show-stopping craziness of March Madness across TBS, CBS, TNT, True TV, and the March Madness Live app as well. As we march on through to Indianapolis, where the Final Four will be back on TBS. Catch all the clutch shots, big-time plays, upsets, Cinderellas, blue bloods, and more that keep you on the edge of your seat. You're not going to want to miss a second of the action, so tune in when it kicks off. NCAA Men's First Four starting tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern on True TV and in the March Madness Live app. Shameless plug, I'll be doing the March Madness Live app coverage. Our boy Randolph, Thursday through Sunday, and a couple other folks. So looking forward to that. It'll be fun. get involved in the app. Of course, it'll be great. It's crazy that tomorrow starts tournament. But before we get into
it is wild. Dallin, I got a question. Could I have anchormanned you there if I would have put something in there like would you have just read it without even looking for just rolled right through it?
No, I mean, I'm pretty good about self-editing there. So if you'd have dropped around an F-bomb, I would have skipped it. I'm pretty good at that. But as I was trying to look up and down to try to be old school, anchor, read and look up. But yes, you could have tried. Try next time. We'll see what happens.
No heart popping, by the way. No heart popping.
Heart pumping. Heart popping. We don't want any hearts popped. We want them pumped. We want them intact. It'd be great. Let's go through this one, and I do want to get the double-digit seeds and a broader conversation about Cinderellas overall. So let's just quickly get through, a Kemba-like run we've seen. You could throw a Shabazz-like performance in 2014, maybe even more improbable.
Who did they play for?
UConn. What's up?
Who did those two guys play for?
We're aware. Yeah, very proud of you. There it is. Do you want to just go right with Darius? Give us some A-cup. Go ahead, Goody. Fire away.
I mean, you got to start here. I mean, don't you? Like, isn't it have to be almost unanimous? Like, Darius Acuff Jr., to me, has all the tools to be a Kemba Walker, a Shabazz Napier, a Steph Curry type run, deeper than Steph went, obviously, but carrying his team deep into the NCAA tournament. This kid is special. I think he's been honestly underlooked a little bit this year just because of, all the everything we've given to AJ DeBonsa, all the attention we've given to the Darren Peterson situation throughout the year. We've talked about Keaton Wagler a ton and Kingston Flemings. And it's not that we haven't talked about Acuff, but I think he's just kind of gone under the radar a little bit because Arkansas wasn't quite as good as some of those teams at times throughout the season. So this kid is capable, again, of doing everything. He can shoot the three. He's so strong and athletic, can get to the basket and finish. He makes his teammates better, doesn't turn over a high clip. He's special, man. He can carry this team to a Final Four. And I don't know if they can win a national title, but I don't know if I put much past this kid.
So I agree with you. I am an avowed Darius Acuff stan. Big fan. Love watching him play. The only freshman that has had more 30-point 10 assist games than him in a season is Trae Young. And I think that says a lot about what Darius Acuff can do and the fact that he can get everybody else involved. I'm going to make the argument that in his pod, in that region that he's going to be playing in Portland, he's not even the biggest threat to be a Kemba Walker or a Shabazz Napier because Nick Boyd is there. And the one thing about Nick Boyd, the advantage that he has over Darius Acuff is that he has played in a Final Four. He has done it. He has led, I don't know, maybe led is too strong, but he has been a key player and a starting point guard on a team. He whatever he was a starting point guard on a team that was a 9 seed that went to the Final Four, that beat Kansas State and Keontae Johnson and Marquise Daniels in the Elite Eight, that made it all the way to the place that you are trying to get to for what we're talking about for these purposes. He is a guy that has a level of confidence and a level of self-belief that I think is completely unreasonable for his ability. Like, I think he actually probably believes that he is as good as Steph Curry, and it shows through in the biggest moments whenever anyone kind of talks to him, when anyone gets him fired up. And the one thing that Wisconsin has done this year is they've proved themselves capable of not even of coming back in games that they're down and beating the best teams in the country. They won at Michigan. They won at Illinois. They beat Michigan State. They beat, I think it was Illinois in the Big Ten tournament.
Purdue.
Right?
They won at Purdue, Illinois.
And they won at Purdue. Yeah, there was one more that I couldn't remember. They won at Purdue. That they have some of the most impressive scalps of anybody in college basketball this year. And when they win and win big, it's because Nick Boyd is awesome. So he is the guy that I think whoever comes out of that region, I really hope that we get Arkansas, Wisconsin in the second round. Whoever comes out of that Arizona is going to have a handful. Like that is a real danger game for Arizona.
Yeah, I think that actually Arizona has a great draw overall with the bottom of their bracket. I think they have the weakest 2 in Purdue. We can get to that if you want. With the weakest 3 in Gonzaga. But their 4-5 matchup is the hardest one. I don't care which one of those teams came out. It's not going to be an easy matchup. just because with Arkansas, the only difference with the Kemba comparison is Darius Acuff he's the best offensive player, I would say, in college basketball. I don't have any problem saying that in terms of best offensive player. Defensively, it's like he doesn't even want to guard sometimes. And when you have him and Malik Thomas doing that, the difference with Kemba's team is when their team was a top 10 defensive efficiency team, and Shabazz was top 15. So Shabazz and those guys could win. They won half their games in the 60s. Now you let your special dude go make some plays when he's got to make plays, and Kemba's team too, but because you can get stops the other way and you don't need to be prolific on offense. They have to score a boatload of points just because they're going to give up a ton. And that's the challenge. Wisconsin's defense had some issues too, but I mean, overall, it's kind of a coin flip. That game would be amazing if we can see it. The guy I will offer up is far away. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I got one more after you're done. I got one more.
I mean, can't you let Dallin go? I mean, come on. What are we doing?
I had to poo-poo Arkansas first, so I'm sorry. I could have kept on the question. I had to do that first. Real quick, I will go Jeremy Fierce. I think for Michigan State to get where I think they can get the Elite Eight, if they could possibly upset Duke, he just has to be special. Like their offense, he is the straw that stirs the drink, and he's got to be the guy making tons of plays and hooking up his teammates. And they got to be in transition if they can. But if they're going to get where they need to get, he's got to kick no groins and be balling. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, that's actually, I think it's a very good comparison too, because of the fact that they are probably better defensively than they are on the offensive end of the floor. And it's just kind of like, we're going to get stops, and then we need our point guard to be incredible to have a chance to win. Does Braden Smith qualify for this conversation? Like, can we put him in the Kemba Walker range when it comes to this?
Put anybody anywhere you want. Go ahead, make your argument.
They won the Big Ten tournament, because I do believe that there is a world where he just goes supernova in this tournament. Like maybe Purdue was just bored through the back half of the season and just wanted to get to a March situation where they could go out there and actually win something that they hadn't won yet. Like once they realized that they weren't going to catch Michigan in the Big Ten title race, and once they realized that, that they're already in the dance and it doesn't really matter what seed they get because they're just going to go have to beat some of those big boys at some point anyway, that they were just kind of like, whatever, let's get to the end of the season and we'll figure it out. We get there. I think there's a real world where what he did against Michigan, we see that throughout the entire tournament in the biggest games, and he finds a way to be able to take him to the Final Four and take him to a national title. I don't think that it's going to happen. And Trevor just texted us the preseason national player of the year does not qualify as an out of nowhere heater to go take him to a national title. But I do think that it is a little bit out of nowhere because we all wrote this team off a week ago. Before the Big Ten tournament, we were ready to put him in the grave. So I could see that one happening. Maybe he doesn't qualify as Kemba Walker or Shabazz Napier, but I can see that being something where we look up on April 5th and we're like, holy shit, Braden Smith has this team in a national championship game in Indianapolis, his backyard.
What about the guy, Rob? What about the guy who put up 46 points against Braden Smith at Mackey? What about Keaton Wagler?
I can't with the hat changes, man. Like we come back.
I love the hat changes. I get to know exactly where we're going. It's like a tease. Here we go. Let's go. It's a visual cue.
That's right.
I love it.
That's right.
That's a great call.
No, but Wagler's special.
It's a great call.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He's special. He's shown it. I think he hit a little bit of a wall. But I will say too, Keaton Wagler, the best deal of any player in the country this year. I believe, I don't know if I can confirm this, probably got to ask either Keaton or Brad Underwood or somebody at Illinois. I believe the original deal was $100,000. Keaton Wagler to come to Illinois. How about that? $100,000.
That is
that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I think Tyler Tanner might be second, and he was probably about $500,000. But I know he made a lot more, and I'm sure Keaton made a lot more as the season went along. But this kid's special. He's certainly capable of going for 30 or 40 in any given night, and he can do it in so many different ways as well. He's not quite as explosive, as powerful as Acuff, but he can do a lot of the same things, and he's better defensively.
Anybody else you guys want to hit on?
Well, I think we got the big names for me.
All right, well, I want to have the Cinderella conversation, but I'm going to rush it against the break. So when we come back, we will get into the Cinderellas, double-digit seeds, and is Cinderella dead? Next on Field of 68 After Dark.
It's 2026. Everything in our world has leveled up. Our phones are supercomputers, your car parks itself, but your razor is still flimsy and overpriced. That's where Harry's Plus comes in. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face. It has refined blade tech for a close and smoother shave, and has a weighted metal handle for added control and comfort. Most importantly for me, Harry's Plus has German-engineered blades that are honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly and without razor burn. I may have a beard, but I still need to shave my neck to make sure I don't look like Paul Gasol. And with Harry's, I have never dealt with razor burn, painful bumps, or the kind of nicks and cuts that you get with drugstore blades. If you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right, no questions asked. There's zero downside to giving it a shot. For a limited time, our listeners get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/F68. This set includes all new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foamy shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/F68 and tell them we sent you. We are running it back with Splash Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, the Survivor contest that we hosted with Splash paid out $40,000 to the winner. This year, the grand prize pays out a guaranteed $100K. For just $25 an entry and up to 133 entries, you can get a chance to prove that you are smarter than the field of 68. Survivor is the future of March Madness. Just pick one team every day of the tournament to win, and if they do, you advance. The catch? You can only use each team once. We're also hosting a free-to-enter bracket on Splash. If you're looking to host one of your own, Splash can handle everything for you, from the entries to the payouts to the standings. We'll be running it back with the Sweet 16 Survivor contest as well for those that do not survive the first weekend. And Splash is now offering Quick Picks, a daily fantasy game that allows you to predict whether a player reaches a certain number on a specific stat. All links are in the description below. The big dance starts soon. Get in before it tips off.
Back here in Field of 68 after dark, presented by Warner Brothers. Of course, all odds discussions brought to you by BetMGM, our great partners there. I want to make sure to let you know, sign up for the Survivor pool we got going on. Splash Sports, we have $100,000 grand prize. Check the link in the description. We'll also be running a free-to-enter bracket pool on Splash, so jump in there as well. Jeff Goodman, Rob Dauster, myself, Dallin Cuff. If you're listening on channel 84 Sirius XM, you can get us every day, 11 o'clock Eastern, through the tourney. The Cinderella conversation is interesting because last year there were many think pieces written, not a word, written, there's a word. Written, that's it. After last year's tournament, because it was the first time I think in years we hadn't seen a double-digit seed that wasn't from a power conference. That seems like it was easy to say. A lot of the NIL money, transfer portal, a lot of the kids transferring up. It's an obvious conclusion we're drawing. It's only 1 year of data, really, that we really saw that. This year, Goody, I'll start with you. Do you think we're going to see that again, or do you see, so you got your Akron hat on now, do you see some double-digit ones that aren't power conference teams that you think are going to make it to? I'm going second weekend, too. Teams can win a game. Can you win 2? Because we've always had somebody in the second weekend.
Yeah, there'll be at least one. There'll be at least one. I don't think – I think people are talking about Cinderella being dead, but I think there'll be fewer of them. I do, because and Rob and I disagree on the reasons here. The biggest reason for me is that the high majors are plucking the best mids, and that wasn't always the case, because the mids in the past would stick around longer because they didn't want to sit out a year. Okay, that was a big part of it. Now they don't have to sit out. They can go play right away. Also, the money obviously is completely different. So, guys like even Hofstra's Speedy Claxton is, he's telling his guys like, hey, go. If you can make, $1 million, I can't pay anything close to that. So, you should go. That's in the best interest of you and your family. So I think, again, there will be some. I just don't think there'll be quite as many because of those reasons.
That certainly plays a part, and I would never say that it doesn't. But I think the biggest issue is the retention that NIL allows at the highest level of college basketball. And I just think back to, I remember I did a study on this in like 2018 or 2017 when I was still working for NBC Sports, and something like 92 players declared for the draft and left with eligibility on the table to try to go get drafted, because getting an Exhibit 10 or getting a $50,000 guarantee overseas, making anything, was an ideal option financially than going back to school. You can always come back to school and get your degree. When you're an athlete, you have a limited window where you could profit off of that athletic ability. And if you make it as a professional basketball player until you're like 32, 10, 12 years, you've had an incredible career, even if you're only playing in Spain and Italy and Serbia and in some places on the other side of the country or on the other side of the world. And what's happened now is you're seeing like 25 or 30 guys declare early for the NBA draft. It's the obvious one and dones. It's the top 10 picks. It's the Coopers. It's the Caleb Wilsons. It's the Carlos Boozers, guys like that. And then you have some guys that are going to end up being like top 25 picks, maybe the occasional early second round pick. But LeBaron Filan 10 years ago is like declares on the first day that you're able to declare for the draft and never thinks about it again, never even looks back at Alabama because he had a chance to be a top 40 pick. Yaxel Lendenberg never would have come back to school ever if he had a chance to be a top 20 pick. And those guys are back. And it's Alex Karaban is back. And you go down the list of all of these players that would have 8 to 10 years ago when we were in the midst of seeing the likes of Wichita State make Final Fours and George Mason and VCU and Butler and all these teams. And what the result is now you have all of these mid-majors where their previous advantage 10, 12, 15 years ago was that they were the grown-ups in the room playing all of these really talented freshmen and sophomores that didn't quite know how to play basketball yet, but had the potential to be superstars. And that's why they were recruited at a high level, right? And when you're 23 years old playing at a mid-major level, going up against 19 and 20-year-olds, you have the opportunity to win those games in part because the age difference is an equalizer, and in part because the maturity level of a freshman that doesn't know how to win a game if adversity strikes. But now you got 23-year-old mid-major guys going up against 23 and 24-year-old high major dudes. So you have adults playing adults that just so happen to be more talented and taller and longer and more athletic and more physical, and NBA players that just so happen to still playing in college because they got paid $3 million to do it, right? That's the biggest issue, is that you don't have that advantage of being the adult playing against the kid. Now it's adults against better adults. And for the most part, those better adults are going to end up winning these games. And that's why we're not seeing the Cinderella, in my opinion.
Well, see, Goody's such a dick. So and here's my thing, is I don't think you when you say it is so emphatically, that's the reason. I hate to do this, but it is a both and, because a lot of those guys that are the adults in the room, a lot of them aren't the guys that they're a lot of the guys that are transferred up though too. It's a confluence of both things. When you combine both, that's when you have this gulf that we didn't used to have. So that's I think it's hard to assign one more than the other. I think it's all of it together because you're getting it from both sides. And you're right. You're keeping guys in.
Yaxel's a perfect example, right?
Well, the starting backcourt for Florida last year with it's Iona, Belmont, and FAU. So like it is what it is. This is what's going on, and it's happening across the board. And I'm sure we could run the numbers. We could figure out how many guys probably would have jumped into the NBA and didn't, and how many transferred up. Yeah, I think it's the combination of both that have caused this concern. I won't say that it's dead yet because we've only seen 1 year. I won't say it's dead after this year. If we have a third year, I think we now have a trend. That we have seen the fruits of the system, and that's not great for the tournament if that's the case. But we'll see what happens. With that said, you got your Akron Zips hat on. You got a double-digit seed. If you think that they can get the Sweet 16, I'm looking for those. And if you got a couple that think are going to win a game in the first round, give me that. What do you got, Goody? Or nobody, because based on our conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think McNeese is one I could see again. They did it last year with Will Wade as the coach. I could see him doing it with first-year head coach Bill Armstrong as the coach. I mean, you're looking at Javon Garcia coming back. He's been there. He's already done it. But I think you bring in a guard, Larry Johnson from Creighton, and he's a straight high major guard. And he can do it on both ends of the court. They have really good guards. Are they big? No. But, again, I'm not sure they need to be overly big to win their first-round matchup.
Yeah, with Vandy. And Vandy's size is always the issue with them. Rob,
the hard part with the Vandy one, I think that was a brutal draw for McNeese State because their whole thing is like forcing turnovers defensively. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it against Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles. McNeese was one of the teams where I was like, I'm picking them no matter what to be able to win a game. And then they end up with Vanderbilt. I'm like that's the worst possible matchup they could have had. Are we counting South Florida as a Cinderella? Does an
They're a
11
one
seed
bid
count?
league. I'll give you an 11
Yeah,
seed that's out of a one
fair.
bid league. Fire away. Yeah.
I think South Florida can get past Louisville, and I think that a team that plays up tempo, that can put up points in a hurry, is a threat to Michigan State. And so I think Louisville's got a chance. I'm sorry, South Florida's got a chance to be able to get to the second weekend. I like the Hofstra Akron region. I think both of those teams have talented guards. Neither Texas Tech or Alabama really is the best defensive team that you're going to find. So if you happen to catch them on a night where they're not making shots, and one of them could advance, and I think both of those guys are good enough to be able to beat both of those teams if that situation were to arise. And I'm still going to say High Point is a threat, because High Point's got really good guards and they got high major bigs. And I know how good Wisconsin is. Wisconsin also has taken some weird losses this year, and they are not a great defensive team, and they are kind of reliant. Like they were down by 15 against Michigan before Austin Rapp hit 6 threes in a row in like 3.5 minutes. And if he doesn't do that, then they lose by 20 to Michigan. And I think we're having a very different conversation about what Wisconsin is, right? But he did do that. So I still like High Point to be able to make a little bit of noise here. I don't know if there's anyone below that, like any 13 seeds. Is there anyone that you would feel comfortable right now, Dallin? If I told you you got to bet $500 on the money line, is anyone 13, 14, 15, or 16 that you would feel confident in at all?
But that's the biggest difference. In years past, there's been, I think it was Ohio against UVA. Loved that game. There was, I didn't take them. I took them with a spread, but even like an Oral Roberts team, when they had Asmus and Kevin, was it O'Banner, right? The pick and pop 4 or 5 guy they had. There were teams that I really liked in that range. I think Grand Canyon was a 13 when they won a couple years ago. Like no, it's just not the same team. It's not the same guys we were talking about.
Obviously,
it's a product of this conversation. No.
You obviously didn't watch the Ivy League title game. You must have missed it, Tom, because if you have watched it, you could say that TJ Power, if he puts on another performance like that, if he goes for 44 again,
dude, he's not.
Then
he's
Penn,
not going to. He's not going to.
Well,
I like Penn.
If
I
he
think
goes
Penn,
for 44,
Grant's did a great job. But
he'll have the record. If TJ Power goes for 44 again, he'll have the record for the most points scored in an NCAA tournament game in the 2000s. So, yes, if he sets the record for the most points that anybody scored in the NCAA tournament, since there was a 2 in the first number of the year, then yes, they have a chance to be able to win.
And if he sets the record, Brad Underwood should probably be fired, because after watching him, the tape, for him to go for 44 in the last one and letting him do it again, it's not going to happen. But TJ Power was incredible. That was one of the best performances I've seen in a long time.
He was great, but that last play would haunt me forever from a Yale player. They let him catch it running to his right hand with all the momentum. There was no resistance. He got all the way into a step in. Now, granted, Casey Simmons is a great athlete. He contested it, but Power's 6'8" and can shoot it like that. And I just don't understand why they didn't double him. Do something to take his touch away, make anybody else shoot it. Because bear in mind, he made a 3 the possession before that was a tough enough 3. They were down 5 with 20 seconds to go. So that one would haunt me, and I felt bad for the Yale guys because they could taste the victory, and he ripped it right out of their hands, and I credit him. But I don't think Penn is capable of being Illinois. I like your this is the thing that sucks sometimes. It's those picks like you mentioned McNeese. High Point before, I'm like, I'm picking High Point. Don't care who they're playing. Crap, I like Wisconsin. Like it's not the right matchup that I wanted, but I wanted to take that team. I'm just not going to do it now. This doesn't count, but I do want to talk to your Purdue team real quick. I think I'm taking Mizzou to go to the Sweet 16. I think their physicality, they're going to play with Miami. I think obviously Miami's built in the inside out. I think Mizzou has physicality at the 3, 4, and 5 spot. Guys are playing at home, playing in St. Louis. Yes. Like that's going to be interesting. I'm so like you get your home crowd there. We know what Como is like. I can't forget what Purdue looked like for the 12 games prior to the Big Ten tournament. And I know you said you're bored. My boy Chris Patola mentioned to me, I think they were bored. 12 games is a long time to be bored. Like that's a long time. They went 6-6 in the last 12. Like they had some defensive issues. And also Braden Smith had some games late game where he was not who we thought he was who he's been. UCLA, Illinois. You can go through different games where it's just not been what it needs to be. So yes, last week it was, and it was totally on point. And I think I have a Purdue hater bias, and that's okay. I can say it for you. You don't need to say it in the comments. That said, I'm taking a flyer on Mizzou. They don't truly count because they're an SEC team, but I think they're a double-digit seed that is live. They're 12-1 just to get to the Sweet 16. Playing.
Can I give you one super long mid-major that I think has a little bit of a chance here? If you look at the teams in the top 3 seed lines where you don't necessarily have future NBA talent or pros, I think it's probably Gonzaga, but they're really old. Like they're 24, 25, 26.
Super old, yeah.
And Michigan State. And we've seen Tom Izzo lose some games early in the tournament before. And North Dakota State has got some size. They are the best rebounding team in the Summit League. They were top 15 in defensive rebounding percentage. They are old in the backcourt. Damari Wheeler-Thomas is going to be a guy that if he decides to put his name in the portal is going to get looks from high major programs. He is good defensively and quick enough to stay in front of Jeremy Fears. He's actually like a mid-major version of Fears in terms of his ability to get a paint touch and make something happen. Trevion Carson is going to be a guy that ends up going to the high major level. If there is one team where I think they are susceptible because of a little bit of a lack of what they have offensively, that if you can stop Jeremy Fears from getting paint touches, which is a very difficult thing to do, and you can keep Michigan State off the glass, which again is a very difficult thing to do, you have a chance to be able to do it. And I think those are the two things that North Dakota State at their level has had success with. So that's one where I kind of look at it and say that it's a little interesting right there.
I'm with you in the margin for Michigan State is not great. And for Gonzaga, because both of those teams can struggle offensively, and both of them don't shoot it very well. So that you can find yourselves in a dogfight with different teams. I mean, we both just kind of went through a couple teams that have high seeds. We're not. I mean, I'm clearly low on Purdue. You're throwing up a flag or a concern for Michigan State, Gonzaga. Goody, do you have a team or two you think with a low seed that you're a little worried about? High seed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is Gonzaga, and I think Texas is that team that, from the previous question, they're obviously not a Cinderella. But I like how they match up against NC State. I think they could beat BYU. I don't trust BYU that much. And then they would get Gonzaga, right? Am I looking at the bracket right on that?
That's it. You nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they got a big and modest. They got Dalen Swain, who could, an NBA potential player. Tremont Mark feels like he's been around for 8 years in college basketball. So, they haven't been consistent. Neither has NC State. Neither has BYU. So, BYU's seed, I think, is a little bit higher than it probably should have been. I don't – again, you give AJ his points, he's going to get his. You just make sure those other guys don't hurt you.
Rob, you had a big reaction to something there. What want to elaborate on that?
I don't see it with Texas. I'm not going to lie to you. That looked like a team that did not enjoy being around each other at the end of the season, and as the wheels kind of fell off there. So
at NC State,
no.
I'm about to say the same thing. They've lost. I believe NC State's lost 7 of 9. Is that right? I mean, Texas lost 5 of 6.
Which is why we really needed San Diego State to beat Utah State, and why we really needed Dayton to knock off ECU, so we could get those teams in the tournament where they looked like they were actually trying to win down the stretch of the season. But I digress.
So real quick, just as tomorrow's game though, too. Let's just touch on it. Goody, sounds like you like Texas in that situation.
I do.
Rob, you on NC State though?
I will be on NC State. Yes.
Will your money be on NC State? They are the favorite at -1.5. Oh, you want to talk about Thad Matta real quick? What's going on? We got a Butler hat on.
I do. He's retired.
I know.
I want to do a toast at the end.
Oh, toast! Hit it! Go! Give me the toast.
Hit it! Go!
Give it on serious.
Thad Matta retired today after. Friday, I put something out that he was not going to retire from the athletic director, and he had a change of heart over the weekend, and he decided to hang it up for the second time and go to the beach. Go to the beach.
Awesome, dude. Great coach. He will be missed in the college game. We won't miss you in the afters, though. Get your questions in for Jeff, for Rob. I'm Dallin. We out. See you tomorrow night.
Today's episode of The Field of 68 is brought to you by Mando. Some men mask their BO with scent. Mando men get the job done right. Mando whole body deodorant was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. You want a solid deodorant stick? Mando's got one formulated and powered by a mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. You like spray bottles? Mando's is aluminum free and ideal for hard to reach places. All Mando products are baking soda and paragon free, and it's safe for anywhere on your body. Pits, balls, thighs, folds, feet, even the grundle. It's perfect for me this time of year. I'm spending 15 hours a day in an arena that hasn't had the AC turned on yet. If I didn't have Mando products, I might smell like the guy sitting next to me on press row, because Mando is clinically proven to control odor better than Old Spice. Want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now? You can find it in Walmart and Target and other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, go to shopmando.com and use code F68 for 20% off at checkout.
These my DJ Burns shades I had for.
That was like taking them into the depths of Alaska and just dropping them off.
The first person that's gonna die gotta be one of the black guys. We're not gonna make it to the end of the movie.
That's like asking somebody, do they want to get a prostate exam or a damn gunshot wound?
Come on into the afters here on Field of 68 After Dark. Rob Dauster's got his goblet with some sort of vino in it. Goody had his Butler hat on. He's back to something else. And then I'm Dallin Cuff.
Hey, Dallin, I have a question for you. Have you heard about the Pick a Twin promotion for BetMGM yet?
Nah, what we got?
You heard about this? The Cavender twins are facing off in the Court of Legends game, and you can enter our Pick a Twin to win free-to-play game for a chance to win a share of a $2 million in bonus bets. How to get this offer? You got to do 3 easy steps. 1, opt in to the Pick a Twin to win free play game. 2, select which Cavender twin, Haley or Hannah, you think will win the Court of Legends one-on-one basketball game hosted at the Bank at the Bellagio in Vegas. And 3, if the twin you select wins the game, you'll win a share of $2 million in bonus bets. Who you got, Dallin? Haley or Hannah?
I thought I was just being a bad host.
Do you know which is
which?
which?
Send me the read, but you didn't send me the read, so I feel great about that.
No, I wanted to put you on the spot. I wanted to find out who you got.
Let's go with Hannah. I'm gonna roll Hannah out there. We'll see. I mean, do you guys? Is it who's the favorite? You know, we got any more action?
I think it's a pick 'em. Pick 'em.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to phone a friend and phone my daughter on this one because
I got Haley. I got Haley.
You tell me what she says too. I'll put my money there. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right.
Too.
All right.
That's the move. You had the Butler hat on before we finished the show, though. Goody. Yeah. Quick toast to Thad Mata. Let's just he is just re-explain what happened here. We thought he was staying, now he's going, and it's the second time he's retired.
Yeah, I talked to the AD. Remember, he was fired at Ohio State in 2017. I'm not sure retired. He was retired at that point. He could have had other options. He interviewed, I think, at San Diego at that point, a couple other places. Decided he didn't want to come back. And then when the Butler job opened in 2022, that's one that he started his career at. He coached 1 year in 2000 at Butler and then moved on to Xavier for a few years in Ohio State. Did an incredible job at Ohio State. It's funny. Back when I was covering recruiting, he was the only coach that I actually sought out to meet back in his heyday when he was recruiting Greg Oden and Mike Conley and Daquan Cook and all those guys. I had never met him, and I went out, literally went up to him at an AU tournament to introduce myself because I'd heard so many great things about him as a human being and as a recruiter as well. And you could see why he was such a great recruiter. There was just no BS with him. Great personality, like you said, just a good dude who the sport will miss. And, not that old. I felt like when he came back this time, it was more just out of convenience than anything else. And for the job, he lived down the street from Butler, worked for his family, everything like that. But I think this is it for Thad Mata. And again, Friday I talked to the AD and he gave me a statement basically saying that, hey, he's coming back and we're going to work together. We're going to have better resources, all this. And I think Thad thought about it over the weekend. I think he was all in. And maybe not all in, but he was in. And then he thought about it over the weekend. Maybe the resources weren't quite what he had hoped they'd be. And he said, you know what? I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah, I hope people recognize that when he was at the peak of his powers, he had Ohio State as the best program in the Big Ten. Right? There was a 6-year stretch where an 8-year stretch where 6 of those 8 seasons they were a 1 or a 2 seed. They made it to the second weekend in 4 straight years. They made it to a national championship game with Greg Oden, where they might have won if Greg Oden had 2 hands in that game. They made it to a Final Four in 2012, I believe, with Aaron Kraft as the point guard. They were the number 1 overall seed in 2011 when Jared Sullinger was the center that they had. Like, Ohio State basketball was the best basketball program in the Big Ten for a solid 4, 5, maybe 6-year stretch there. And to say that about a conference where you got Indiana and you got Michigan and you got Michigan State and you got all those monsters that exist in the Big Ten, to see him do that, it deserves its respect. Now, he kind of burned out and he ran hot and then flamed out, but what he was when he was at his best is something that we should all.
Well, he had back surgery. He had back surgery that resulted in drop foot, and I think that took a lot out of him. I do. I mean, I remember him at the PTM. He would sit on that furthest seat because he couldn't really get comfortable, and walking was difficult for him, and he couldn't. He ran every day before that surgery, and that really, I think that took some of the love out of it for him to some degree. But like you said, Rob, man, that dude, what he did, 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, he was incredible. And that program was so good. And you hope Ohio State can get back to that at some point.
Yeah. Outstanding coach. Awesome dude. Will be missed in the game. From Butler's standpoint, obviously now Butler's open, Providence open in that league. Like, where do you think they're going here? Like, what are we talking about?
Let's do Butler first, because there's some interesting names in that region.
Well, couple things for Butler. Obviously, Ronald Norred, who played on those Brad Stevens teams, the Final Four teams. Point guard. He's been in the NBA. He had a little stint in college. I think he went NBA, a quick stint in college, and then he went back to the NBA. He's been in the NBA for a while. He probably still looks like he's 25 years old, kind of like you, Dallin. And but he's probably closer to how old are you now? How old are you?
Encroaching on 43. Thank you.
Yeah, Norred's probably a little bit younger than you. But Norred will be in the mix. You could see Travis Steele, guys. Travis Steele went to Butler. I mean, he's coming off obviously an incredible season here at Miami University. So I think he'd be in the mix as well. I think you could see, could Micah Shrewsbury, who was with Brad on his staff at Butler, could he try to get out of Notre Dame, maybe before they get him out of Notre Dame and get over there. He's got a huge buyout right now at Notre Dame, but he could go to Butler as well. John Gross is another name at Akron who's done a great job. Those would be, I would say Norred to me would be the de facto leader today. And I think, again, you got to look at Travis Steele.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about John Gross and Travis Steele, because those are the interesting names, because both of them have been at that level before and had varying degrees of success there.
Yeah, and there's something to be said. I don't know how you feel about this, Dallin, but sometimes people are like, well, they failed at the high major level. They failed, so they had their chance, and they're not good enough to coach at the high major level. I would take another approach. Like, we don't know. Like, they might have learned enough at the high major level to when they go back now after being at a mid-major or mid-major plus, whatever you want to call some of these, I think they might be a different coach. John Gross, I think, has mellowed out a lot since he was at Illinois. I think Travis, same thing. I mean, you see him now, and, I think he's pretty content where he is. He's not going to take a job, just any job, but I do think Butler would be one of the few jobs that Travis Steele would absolutely take a shot at.
I'm pretty sure. I think Bruce Pearl got catfished by that earlier today. I don't know if you guys saw that. There was
he did.
Like,
he totally did.
That was tough. Hook, line, and sinker. It was tough. But the thing that I think is unfortunate about this business, that people that are fans that don't understand, it's like anything else. You learn through putting in your hours and your work and your reps. And it's totally different sliding over those 18 inches from an associate head coach or assistant coach to a head coach, especially guys that got jobs in their mid-30s. It's a different, you're learning so much, or you have to learn so much. So those guys that have excelled very young, that's awesome. But it's really hard to do that. And if you didn't have the success you wanted to, Hopefully you've learned. And if you go to another level and you had success there, I imagine you're proving you have learned. You're winning again. You're figuring out how to do some things differently, figuring out how the ecosystem, understanding what you learned at the high major level. So just because you didn't work out the first time doesn't mean it can't work out the second time. And anytime you take somebody the second time, especially Travis is 44 years old. Like, for anybody to write off somebody that's 44 years old that just went an undefeated regular season, and we watch his teams play, like, he knows what he's doing, and he knew what he was doing before. I think there were some mistakes made at Xavier that was not a great situation, and he contributed to his own failures at times. But you learn from that, and you're supposed to, like, assess that as part of maturity and growth, like any profession or anything you do. So just because it's a high profile thing doesn't mean you can't improve or wouldn't improve. So I think that's just a little short.
And I think in this era where coaching changes feel like they're happening a little bit quicker, right? Like, I feel like the trigger that a lot of these ADs have, because of the money that is spent, because of the money that is invested in NIL kind of situations, you're going to see a lot of these guys that are younger, that are getting their first shot, get moved on quicker. And being able to go improve yourself at a place like a Miami, or at a place like an Akron, or at other mid majors, and get another chance. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I don't think that is the wrong thing to do. You know, maybe you got that first high major job when you were a little bit too young and you weren't ready. Doesn't mean you can't coach. So I wouldn't mind seeing those guys get another shot at a place like a Butler.
For sure. Just real quick before we move off. Any other? Do you want to go through Providence at all? Do you want to touch on anything there? Sure. Or do you want to talk about Hodgson more specifically, the South Florida head coach and his situation?
Yeah, I from my sources, both Syracuse and Providence want Brian Hodgson. Okay, and obviously he's in the thick of it right now, coaching in the NCAA tournament, and he'll try to figure out which one. I think, according to my sources, I think Providence probably has the lead because they've got more money right now. They've got more NIL. They've got more resources. As much as I've been critical of the Providence head coach, the Providence AD, Steve Napolillo, for his hire of Kim English, what he does great is raise money. He's terrific at that. So they're going to have probably upwards of $10 million again. They had 10.5, I believe, this past year in Kim English's final year, where Syracuse is probably looking more in the $8 million range. And there's some other factors there. You know, you take that job, you have higher expectations at Syracuse than Providence. You also probably have to retain Kai and Anthony. I'm not sure everybody wants to retain Kai and Anthony right now. With how it ended, there's got to be a lot of questions, because even Red Autry was benching Kai and Anthony towards the end of the year at times. So I think, again, I believe that Brian Hodgson is leaning towards taking the Providence job right now over Syracuse. But again, we'll see what happens. He's got to get through the tournament, and then he'll make a decision here.
The Providence job right now is a better job.
A lucrative offer to stay at South Florida, by the way. So if he thinks Providence or Syracuse aren't good enough and he can do better next year staying hot, he could go back and make a boatload of money, because South Florida is absolutely willing to pony up and give him a big-time contract.
Yeah, at the same level of what Schertz is getting?
Not quite. But for South Florida, a lot of money, big investment.
Yeah. They are right now.
What would you do, Rob, if you're – I'll throw a number out there. I'll throw a number of, like, let's call it 2.7 a year for 6 years. So what's that? Upwards of $15 million. If you keep a fairly low buyout, if you can, would you say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself. Providence and Syracuse aren't quite good enough. There's only going to be about 50 jobs, I bet, that coaching changes this year, which means there'll be a ton next year. And there aren't a lot of good ones. Like, there are a lot of average to bad jobs that have opened up this year. Would you stick around for another year at South Florida?
Probably, because I think that you can consistently win in that league, right? And if you don't, though, I guess the question is, how do you view the Providence job? I don't think I would leave South Florida right now for Syracuse beyond the simple, like, you can live in Tampa or you can live in Canada. And I'm going to take Tampa over Canada when you have the opportunity to win your conference. But you're the best job in that league. You're the best team in that league. You're going to bring back Wes Enos, who could end up being the best player in that league. CJ Brown's going to be a really good player for you. And it's Brian Hodgson. You know he's going to go out there and get dudes. Like, that's what he does. He recruits. He is a recruiter's recruiter. So I think at that price point, I probably would be coming back to USF. But the Providence job is one where the Big East is a little bit down, right? You got two monsters at the top. And I don't think UConn or St. John's are going anywhere anytime soon, right? Rick Pitino's probably got a couple years left here. And I think UConn will be able to keep this thing rolling. Do you want to leave for a place where you can step in and maybe be like you're fighting for third, right? Do you think that you could take Providence to be a team that can compete for a Big East regular season championship? And I don't know if you can with those two programs in front of you. I don't think that you can at Syracuse. So the question is, like, what is on the horizon? Like, what caliber of job do you think could open up next year? And is it higher than something where you could maybe get it to being the third or fourth best program in the Big East? Because remember, Marquette's going to be coming, like, they got money. They got Nigel James coming back. Like, they're going to get this thing back to where it needs to be. So if you have 10.5, 11 million at Providence, you're going to be able to get some players, but is it good enough to go get a job at a place where you're fighting for like third, fourth, or fifth in the Big East every single season instead of making 2.5 million, staying in Tampa, winning the league again, and having another shot at being able to get another job next year? I probably would stay if I was him, but the amount of money you can get at Providence is, I mean, and you got a fan base, you got a home court. Like, if you're good, you could turn that thing into a fortress. It's a tough decision, tough call.
This is I'm right there with you on Syracuse. If you ask kids now, like, what is Syracuse basketball? Kids have no freaking clue. It's become irrelevant, unfortunately. That is the problem. And now he's a Buffalo guy, so maybe he wants to go back to Central New York, and that's something that's Central New York is good, it's close enough. Maybe that's something that's interesting to him, maybe. But as far as winning there and winning that league and recruiting there in today's ecosystem, with a football program they're trying to pour resources and assets into, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Like, you're not winning that ACC right now. You're not getting on their level of some of these teams. Like, Ryan Odom's going to have UVA humming. Like, Louisville's coming. Duke is where Duke is. Carolina's like, you're in a tough spot. My question about him, I wouldn't think, can I be third, fourth, or fifth in the East? He's nice. I'm like, he's a confident, good coach. No, man, is Providence going to give me the resources I need to take that fan base and take that money and take whatever the hell I call it now, take the dunk into a fortress and make it be the thing in that area of the country? Can I help take that thing over? We don't have football to compete with. We are just a basketball school. And let's go. Do I believe I can do that? If I believe I can do that, then I'm leaving right now. If I think I can do it. I mean,
I think
guys
you
have won
leave.
there. The question is,
Dallin, because you're hot. You don't want to cool off. That's the thing you worry about a little bit, is like, what if you don't have a great year next year? Even though you're getting paid, even though you have good resources, doesn't mean, again, you're going to win the league again next year. You cool off. You've only really, again, been in this spot for 1 year. So I think you hit it while you can, to me.
And your run also matters. Like, if USF goes to the Final Four, like Dusty did at FAU, the next year they were what? They were like a 10-9 seed. They got in the tournament, but their year was not the same, and they got bounced early. And he still got the Michigan job because you get him to the Final Four. That is you've got the street cred. You're good. If you win one game, you beat Louisville. It's not the same thing. So I think that it does influence your decision. Also, the conversation you have in Providence. Do I believe I have the backing to win right now? If I can win right now, and that league is down, I can stack wins. I know I'm going to the tournament. Like, I know I can stack wins in that league. I'm going.
There's two things. One is that you're right about it being different than Schertz, because Schertz had a long track record of success at Lincoln Memorial, and then he went and he built Indiana State into a program that was what they were, that deserved to be in the tournament. And then taking St. Louis, and he's gotten that thing going immediately. He's going to have people back. Like, he's got a long enough track record that he can say this is not a fluke. This is not a 1 year thing. Whereas Hodgson has been there for 1 year. He's been a head coach for 3 years. Totally get that. I think the other question is, like, if you, and I think this is, I talked with a coach that actually was considering going there, right? And or was not considering going there, but was mentioned among one of the people that they were targeting. And the thing was, like, what happens if I leave? What happens if I go there for 4 years and I decide to leave? Is it going to be something where I am going to get threatened? Is it going to be something where I get treated the way that Ed Cooley got treated on his way out? And that is a conversation that people are having about that job and about that opening. Now, I think there are ways that you can handle it that will be better than the way that Ed handled it on the way out. But that is something that is certainly within the consideration there. I still think, like, it's tough, man. It depends on how much. Is it more, significantly more money you would be banking at Providence than you would at South Florida Goodman? Because I think that might also play a role too.
Yes, significantly.
Yeah.
But it's where you can win. To me, it's if you believe, like Dallin said, if you believe you can win at Providence and you've got 10 plus million and you feel confident that you're going to have 10 plus million, or you're going to be in the top, maybe not 10 plus million because the market can change. If you're going to be in the top 3 or 4 in the Big East over the next 5 years, then you take it.
I probably take it. But I don't think that there's a bad option there. Like, I think that if your choice is going back to USF at the money you're going to be making there to be the best program in the league and the best job in the league, or go to Providence with the money that you're going to be getting to be able to whatever you decide to do.
We almost lost you, Rob, but you're back. All right. We're good here. I was going to say one of the hot takes. No hot takes. We're out.
No, we can do that. We'll do that tomorrow.
All right, boys. It's been an afters. Goody, Dauster. It's been nothing short of magical. See you later.